Welcome to the Rise of the Entrepreneur podcast, where we dive into the journeys of those who have made a significant mark in the world of business and entrepreneurship. Today, we're filled with excitement to host a guest whose life story reads like a roller coaster ride of ambition, controversy, and redemption. He's a best-selling author, motivational speaker, sales trainer, and a business owner. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is the Wolf of Wall Street, and now the Wolf of Investing, none other than Jordan Belfort. Jordan, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So many people have asked you to come down to our podcast. You know, you were one of the top requested speakers.
I'm
for
excited.
this podcast.
I'm ready to roll.
You know, our company is all about culture-driven salespeople.
Sure.
We build salespeople. We take average people and make them elite.
Right.
And your story resonates with that because you said it yourself that you can teach anyone how to sell. Right. With your system. So my first question to you, Jordan, is that the year you turned 26, you have made $49 million, right?
A year.
In 1 year, right? Now you're 61, right? Who was Jordan Belfort at that time? What was your mindset like? What was your level of ambition? If somebody were to ask you, like, can you describe that man at that time? Sure. What would you say?
So, you know, when I was 26, let's just say, let's even go back early, my, early 20s when I emerged from college, right? And, I already had been an entrepreneur through my college years, right? I had this business on the beach selling ices, made a ton of money, like a lot of money. And we'll get into that later, right? So, there was never any doubt in my mind that I was, destined to be very wealthy. I did not grow up wealthy, right? And I had this burning desire to be rich. It's a burning desire, and I guess just why I had it for so many years, even prior to that. I don't really know the exact root of that, but probably was growing up in an area that was like lower middle class, but we were highly educated. And Long Island, I grew up in Queens, but Long Island was like really close. It was like a car drive. Yeah. That's where the rich people lived. And like there was a, sort of this aspirational mentality that one day you'd strike it big and buy a home in Long Island. We all grew up in an apartment. My friends and I were in an apartment building, right? And so when I went into the business world, right, and I very quickly realized I had this amazing gift for selling and teaching others how to sell, right? To me, it was like almost like I was like this kid with adolescent fantasies, which suddenly could be realized in the real world. Like I suddenly had the power to make every dream I ever had as a kid come true. And that could be good and bad, right? Because a lot of the dreams I had, I got from like, where do you find TV shows, movies, like, Gordon Gekko was my idol. In Dallas, the TV show back with Dynasty was like, the Carringtons, like you grew up with this stuff, this pop culture icons back then, right? And I wanted to just like I remember when I first made money, the first big hit I made like maybe 12 million in a day or something, right? And the first thing I did before I even considered buying a house, anything else, was I bought myself a white Ferrari Testarossa, right? And the reason it was white was because Don Johnson had driven a white Testarossa in Miami Vice. It's like I had also like in my mind, like I had this vision of what success meant, of what being wealthy meant, right? And a lot of my decisions were based on just like, I need to be filthy fucking rich, because like that's what that's the goal, right? Now, flash forward now to I'm 60 years old, right? Suddenly you're like, well, not suddenly, but when you get a bit older and wiser, hopefully you start to realize that, well, in fact, that's not really what going into business is really all about. You don't go into business just to get rich. I mean, it's a byproduct of that, right? But the purpose, the idea, the function of a business is to deliver value to people. And then monetize that value effectively. So in other words, you deliver massive value to people, you can make money from doing that, and hopefully you deliver more value than you get back in money. Your customers love you, and you grow and you thrive and you stay in business, right? But back in 1988, when I first went and started Stratton, my brokerage firm, was like fuck, we just got to make money.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happens. Like, forget the value. We got to just make fucking money. And, and I think a lot of people go down to Wall Street with that mentality. And Wall Street, I'll never blame anyone but myself for some of the mistakes I made. But Wall Street and that whole industry does tend to bring out the worst in people. It's about chasing the buck. And you know, it becomes almost a party joke that the clients lose money in the process very often. So, so those are some of the core beliefs I had, like about, you know, getting rich at any cost. And a lot of it, you know, was from pop culture, I think.
When you were growing up, right, and I want to be able to touch a little bit upon your parents, they were not rich, right? They didn't come from rich families. Where did you drive that inspiration to say, you know what, I want to have a better life than my parents did. I want to be able to, you know, not live in an apartment. I want to be able to live in a mansion. And today you do that, right? But as a young child, you say since young age you thought of that. Like, where did these inspirations come from?
So I think, you know, I very quickly realized at a very young age, I mean, I think under 10 even, right? That my parents were brilliant. Like, they were intellectually brilliant people, both of them. They were incredibly hardworking, highly educated. They were both CPAs, right? And broke. Like, they didn't have money. Like, and not, let's say broke, meaning they were living paycheck to paycheck, middle class, you know, probably the lower end of middle class. So we had everything that we needed, but not what we wanted, or at least what I wanted, you know? So it set up this sort of frame in my mind, like, well, what's missing? Like, I don't get it. Like, how could two people be so smart, so hardworking, so diligent, but why aren't they making more money? And why can't we have the finer things that I see on TV, or some of my friends, or, you know, when you go to school, there's a wealthy area, maybe half a mile away, and like what the big houses are. And when you're really young, you're like, who would want to live in a house? This apartment's so great. We got all my friends in the same building. We can play in the hallways, right? But then when you get a little, you're like, fuck, house is not so bad. So you start to realize, right? And to me, the things that popped out were really two in particular. One was that my parents were risk averse. They were like, they, you know, did not, you know, embrace risk in any shape or form at any level. They were depression era mentality. They'd grown up in the Great Depression, and they never really shed those beliefs about, you know, being a sort of poverty mindset and not taking any risks and work for a wage, which is, they thought was the safe way. And also they really believed that selling and marketing were like evil at their core. They didn't think that to be a noble pursuit, but that would be like the understatement of the century. Like, you know, a door-to-door salesman knocked on our door. My father take out the shotgun and wanted to shoot the guy. He was really against selling and persuasion. So, you know, if that's your mindset, that's your belief system, then, well, guess what? You could be incredibly talented. You can have an amazing value that you could add to someone's life. They're both CPAs. They could have a side hustle doing the books and records for, or tax returns people, but they would never consider that sort of thing. They have to put themselves out there and sell their services. So instead, they work for a wage for other people, and they struggled. They certainly were frugal, and they made ends meet. But, you know, I remember a couple of things in particular. My mother, you know, still alive, thank God, right? You know, we have these funny family stories. Like, I wanted a pair of Puma sneakers, which back then, like in the 70s, were like, Puma sneakers were like the new thing on the, like, everyone wanted Puma, and they were like $15. And I was like, we can't afford Puma sneakers. I'm like, why the fuck not? I mean, what do you mean? You guys are both CPAs. What do you mean you can't afford Puma sneakers? And then when I wanted a dirt bike for like $150. It was like $150 back then for a dirt bike. And they're like, well, we can't afford to buy you a dirt. So, like, those sort of things, and they might seem small and trivial, but for a kid at the time, it was like, I was just, what the hell? This is not making sense to me.
I admire that so much because I can relate to that. When I was 17, I had to make a choice, go to college or go into sales. And in my family, being a salesman is the worst. Mine too, right?
Exactly, right? It's the lowest of the low, right?
Like, you'd rather be a garbage man than be a salesperson.
Exactly, same thing.
And I was like, no, like there's a calling me. I know I have a gift of connecting with people. So how did you, like, at that age, most people listen to their parents. They don't want to upset their parents. They want to follow their parents' dreams. They go to school because their parents want to go to school. How did you find that, you know, rebel in you to say no to the parents and follow your heart?
So I think that, you know, on some level, I'm very different from everyone else in my family. I am. And they'd be the first to admit that.
The black wolf of the family.
Well, you know, listen, I was a very, very, very good student. Like, very good student. Like, I always scored at the very high end of every test I ever took, at the sort of off the charts. That's sort of my brother and sort of my two first cousins. We all scored at the ultra high end of any IQ test or any comprehension test. So we all did really well in school. But all of them were more of the shyer, less verbal, more socially, I wouldn't say timid, but socially more reserved. And then there was myself, who from the time I was 3 years old was a born communicator, and I tied words together with ease at a very young age. Nice. And, I always was very, kind of funny, more personal, had more natural charisma than they did. And so I had sort of the verbal side of the gift. So they had the intellectual gift and lacked the verbal side of the gift. I had both the intellectual and the verbal side of the gift, and I very much like to use the verbal side of the gift. Yeah. I was, I enjoyed it. It made me feel good. So I was always like the sort of kid that would, get 100 in every single test, but then get in trouble for calling out in school and stuff like that, or I was a little bit more of a wild child. So I always was seen as different, from my grandmother was said everyone that was a bit, sort of the odd, I wouldn't say the black sheep, but just the oddball of the group, that it was much more personable.
At that time, does that feel to you as a compliment or more of a, I got to change? People saying I'm different.
Well, I felt like my grandmother, who I was pretty close with, I felt like it was a compliment. For my mother, no, it was more like, but my mother and I are very close today. But we had I had some resentment certainly towards her as an adolescent. Then you get older, you realize how fucked up everyone else's parents are. I'm like, thank God these were my parents. You start to realize you had really good parents, because I really did. They weren't perfect parents, but God, when you realize the shit that's out there in the world, right?
Exactly.
But I did resent my mom, and my dad was, I think, a bit more like me. Not that ironically, my mother is actually more like me with charisma, but she's very much like her moral compass is so rigid that she's got her way of looking at things, and if you don't fall into her way of thinking about things, she's very rigid. My dad was not like that. He was a bit wilder in his personality. He wasn't wild, but he just was much more flexible.
He was more open-minded in a way.
And accepting people that weren't didn't adhere to his own moral compass, right? So my mother and I bucked heads a lot. But, ultimately, I think that, when I first told her I was going to be a salesman, she was, oh, my God, my son, how am I going to tell my friends? I'm like, it's worse, Mom. I'm going to be a meat and fish salesman. My son, the fish salesman, But then I became the top meat and seafood salesman in the country, like the first day, and I broke all the records. And within a month of that, I opened up my own meat and seafood company, and I started training salespeople and realized I had a gift for that. And before I knew it, I had 26 trucks on the road. I was in my early 20s, and I moved into a beautiful apartment and was driving a Porsche, and I was already starting to right. And this is after I made a lot of money as an entrepreneur in college and high school on the beach. So the handwriting was on the wall. Yeah. But my mother never really respected it all. Like that, she just wasn't her. Not that she didn't respect it. Respect is the wrong word. She never kind of could understand it. Yeah. Understand it.
Yeah. I agree. At one point at your company, you had 1,400 employees.
Right.
At that time, there's no social media. There's not much marketing. There's not much different platforms where you can go out there and really monetize or promote anything. How did you get to that point to where within 7 years, you got 1,400 employees? You have the highest amount of brokerage. Everybody wants to be part of your team. Everybody wants to work with you.
Sure.
How did that happen?
So, I personally hate social media because I'm old, I guess. I fucking hate it, right? But, I accept it and I use it and whatever, right? Like I think I also collectively I have 7 million followers on my different platforms. I should have, 8 million. I think I should have like 50 million or 100 million. If anyone else in my shoes, they'd have 100 million followers. But I hate posting. It's not something that's organic to me because I resisted it. When the movie came out, I didn't even have social media.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't have anything. I had no Instagram account.
When I met you, you had 50,000 followers.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit, right? Yeah. And but sooner or later, you can't beat him. You got to join him. So at least I have, I started developing some more effective social media. But back then, so things were very different, but in some way very much the same. your ways of communicating was simply an offline marketing, offline advertising. So right now, how would you get employees if you want to if you want to get more employees? Well, you'd put your stuff on LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, or Indeed, right? And you have these platforms, right? And in the old days, those would be classified ads in the New York Times, New York Post, in the help wanted sections, right? Or you'd put up, little flyers in colleges, and a lot of it was also word of mouth. People bring in, recruiting their friends and so forth, right? So I think for, in the case of, in terms of the recruiting side of the equation, we would have, ads in all the help wanted sections, and also sometimes on radio, which was pretty big back then. But then a lot of it was word of mouth. Like we had we had such a reputation and a system for taking people and making the kids very rich that they all told their friends. And that was really, I say, 80% of the recruiting was word of mouth.
So the powerful tool in your growth was the fact that you took people that didn't make money and made them successful, and people started to talk about it.
Yeah, that certainly was the chief driver of growth, was this. And then I got lucky in the sense that, Forbes did an article on me, and people saw this article, and it was a recruiting call for more young kids. So Stratton, this is, a very different time, and the culture that we had back then was just like, it was like this amazingly fun place where you just love to come to work because, everyone's having a blast, and it's like Disneyland for adults, and you're making a fortune. Everyone's fucking everybody and nobody cares. Everyone's pockets are lined with drugs. There's animals running around the boardroom, acts of depravity once a week for shits and giggles. It was a place where, we had this saying, we worked hard and played hard. So we said, if you're going to go out with the boys, you got to wake up with the men. So the idea was you go out and party your ass off and go into the city, do whatever you want to do, whatever substances, you are consuming, so be it. But you better be at your desk at 8:30 the next morning, banging away on the phone, or else you're going to be out of a job.
And you better deliver.
Yeah, and we always especially in the earlier years before it got really big, we eventually had 3,000 people working there. But in the earlier years, we had a situation, we had more salespeople than desks. Like, there was a shortage of desks. So if you showed up late to work, you weren't getting a desk, So we had and one of the important things of growing a sales force and managing them, I'm a firm believer in this, is you can't ever, a sales force can never be stagnant. If you have 100 people working for you and you're not hiring new people, the salespeople end up ruling the fucking asylum. The inmates rule the jail, basically, because you have to be, you can't ever let your sales force have power over you like you need any one salesperson, or you can't let your sales force dictate. They need to know that, we love you. We do a great job. We trained you well. We pay you well. We appreciate the hard work. But if you want to get the fuck out, then get the fuck out. We'll replace you tomorrow.
That's right.
Like that. No big deal. Yeah. Right. So, and when they know that, then the salespeople, will perform better. They'll also respect the rules.
I agree.
More. So you can't ever give the power to your sales force.
I tell my people all the time, if you're afraid to lose your team, you already lost them.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to have standards. You have to have a backbone. Because if they feel like they need you, right, or you need them, opposite, right? You need them. They're going to walk in with a big ego, thinking they can do whatever they want to do. And then at that point, you lose your authority.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you create the system that so many people, right, have followed, straight line system. And so many people said, this is the most simple way to learn sales, right? But yet it's so proficient, it's so different, and no one else is talking about it. Can you tell me, how did you come up with that system, and how long did it take you to really perfect that process?
Yeah, so I came up with the system as a result of being forced to. In other words, I was in a situation where I stumbled upon an untapped niche in the stock market, right? And that was selling $5 to $10 stocks to the richest 1% of Americans, right? And at the time, when I first stumbled on this niche, I had 13 employees, right? And up until then, for about 3 or 4 months before, we were selling penny stocks to average moms and pops.
Yeah.
So this is very important because, there's penny stocks, which are like 50 cents, 30 cents, right? 10 cents. And selling those to people with little or no net worth.
Right.
You know, average people that are employees, they don't have a lot of savings. They'll throw maybe $500 into an idea, something like that was like a big trade. Remember, 1,000 was massive, right? That's one market. Then there's this other market, which was like the more traditional side of Wall Street, what you'd be calling wealthy people,
right,
with large net worths, right? The top 1%, and sell them, you know, $5 to $10 stocks, or, you know, big New York Stock Exchange stocks. And when they would do a trade, it might be a $500,000 investment or $1 million. They put real money into an idea. Now, why is that? Well, a wealthy person doesn't want to play small, because what's the upside? Like,
yes,
if you're worth $10, $20 million, why would you put $5,000 in this thing? It's like a nuisance. Like, if I double my money, so I have 5,000 more, it doesn't move the needle.
Right.
So when a wealthy person's going to invest, they're going to take a much larger position, right?
I agree.
So, anyway, the long story short, I stumbled upon this niche that no one had ever really tried to attack before, and the results were so great, right? Between myself and my junior partner, Danny, we tested the idea ourselves. The results were so great that we just said, you know, fuck, we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna stop this other business of selling penny stocks. I'm gonna take these 12 kids who I trained. I'd already trained them, not the straight line. It was an older system I had been using to train people, and it was great, right? And they were all making about 10, 15, 20,000 a month. They were doing well, right? And I'm gonna stop that, and I'm going to teach them now to do what I'm doing and what Danny's doing, which is selling these $5 to $10 stocks to the rich people
at the higher level.
And the difference in income was incredibly profound. So, for example, on the first trade with the new system, it was my profit on one investment, one trade, was $80,000 in one trade. It was a 3-minute deal, right? Versus in a penny stock, maybe you'd make $300, $200 on a trade. So it was like, fuck. I'm like, in that moment when I realized I cracked the code, you know, I looked out into this room. It was like, you know, 12 kids, right? Average age was probably 20 years old. You know, average education was they barely had clawed their way out of high school. No Ivy League diplomas among them. No members of the Lucky Sperm Club, right? They're all, you know, lower middle class kids from Long Island and New York City, and the average IQ is probably Forrest Gump on 3 hits of acid. So they weren't like the sharpest tools in the shed. They weren't natural born closers, right? They were young kids, but, you know, fuck, I was a great sales trainer. I taught them how to sell penny stocks to average moms and pops. So now I said, all I got to do is teach them how to sell to rich people. I'm going to be a billionaire, right? That was the idea. To my shock, not only did it turn out to be, you know, difficult to train these kids to close rich people, it was fucking impossible.
Wow.
After 1 month of trying to get them to close rich people, they still hadn't closed a single one. So, but the real shock was that my closing rate was like 50%. Danny's was in the high 30s, right? And theirs was 0.
Did you train Danny too?
Yeah, I trained Danny too, but Danny was a natural born closer who I trained, but he took to it like a fish to water, and he was come from a wealthy family and sharp guy, very smart guy. But I trained him. He struggled for like a couple of days, then he soared. He was amazing, right?
Gotcha.
So and Danny was like my right hand man, right? So it's like, fuck, but I don't get this. I'm doing it. I have a 50% close rate. I'm making a fortune. Danny is closing in the high 30s, right? These guys are at 0. We're calling the same people, recommending the same stocks, using the same script, everything, same leads, everything's the same. Why are they at 0? Why am I 50%, right? And that was really the sort of this and the stakes were like $1 billion. Like, I'm like, if I could just teach these people to do what I do, I'll be a billionaire. Yeah. And if I can't, they're gonna want to go back to selling penny stocks, which I hated, right? So I tried everything to get them to close, and I couldn't. And finally, I mean, I even flew across the country to a seminar that back then in the 80s of like the purportedly best sales trainers. And I quickly realized that, you know, the stuff I was teaching was far better than the stuff that these people were teaching. And my stuff wasn't working. And their stuff sucked, so I was basically screwed. So I sort of came back to the firm, you know, really not knowing what to do. It was like mutiny on the bounty at my firm. The brokers wanted to stop selling to rich people. They couldn't make money now. They weren't making money. They wanted to go back to selling penny stocks, you know? So it sort of came down to this magic moment, this night where I said, all right, let's do one of these marathon sales training sessions. I would do at night with 3-4 hours, right? And I'd just go through all the different things about selling, overcoming objections, this and that, whatever it might be, right? And we all came back for this sort of 7 p.m. session. I'll never forget this night. It's like a Tuesday evening in October '88. So fuck, it's like 36 years ago, right? Almost, And I looked into the sad faces. I'm like, guys, I don't get what's so hard about this. I'm doing it. Danny's doing it. You guys, I don't know why you can't do it too. What's the fucking problem? And, first it was silence. Then they're like, there's too many objections. So there's 1,000 objections. And it goes, yeah, there's 1,000 objections. We can't even get our pictures off. They keep cutting us off. And it goes, there's 1,000 objections. I'm like, really? Okay, great. Let's write them all down. I'm going to write all 1,000 down, right? So I'm like, come on, let's go. And, first there was some silence. Then they're like, one goes, they want to think about it. I'm like, great, think about it. Wrote it on the whiteboard.
Incredible,
what's next? I want to call back. I wrote that. I said, what's next? They want to speak to their wife. Great. Wife, what's next? Bad time of year. Great. Wrote that. What's next? They're not liquid. Great. What's that? Pause. Nothing. I'm like, guys, it's 5. We have 995 to go. Where's They're like, all right. And they keep going on and on. They kept listing objection after objection. And at the end of the day, the board was filled with objections, which at the end of the day were 14. There's only 14, not 1,000. And of those, half were repeats of 2. They were like, I want to speak to my wife, my partner, my lawyer, someone else, the butcher, the baker, fucking Santa Claus, the tooth fairy, right? Or it's, bad time of year, tax time, back to school time, right? Whatever the point is that in that moment, I'm like, you guys are unbelievable. You're so full of shit. You tell me there's 1,000 objections. There's only 14. Half of them are repeats of 2. And then I'm like, but even those don't matter. And suddenly this idea pops in my head. I'm like, don't you guys get it? Like every sale's the same.
Yes.
And I say these words and they're looking at me like, what? What do you mean every sale's the same? Every sale's different. People have different needs. They say different things, different values, different experiences. Every sale's different. That was their expressions. And I'm like, guys, every sale's the same. And I'm like, watch. And this idea pops in my head. I said, it's a straight line. And I drew the straight line across the center of the whiteboard, right? And then I put a big, thick X on either. And what happened was, and what I was really driving at was this, is that to me, it was so simple to close someone. Like it was almost like, it didn't matter what they said. It didn't matter like what their experiences were. Like I had my own strategy, right, that I was going to run to close people. Now it was, up until that moment, it was mostly an unconscious strategy, something I automatically did as a natural born closer, right? And what they had said to me, there's 1,000 objections. They keep cutting us off. We can't get our pitches off. So it wasn't even the 1,000 objections that was annoying me. I mean, yeah, it was stupid because it was only 14, right?
Right.
But this idea that we're getting cut off, they can't even get their pitches off. That wasn't happening to me. Like people wouldn't cut me off. People would not disrespect me on the phone like that. I'd get the same objections they were getting, but I get them after I asked for the order the first time. I wouldn't get them up front. I wouldn't be like I'd start asking a question, they'd start objecting right there.
Yeah.
And in that moment it hit me that there was something in the way I was presenting myself, whether it was in person or over the phone, something in my voice, way I carry something I was doing that was causing the person on the other end of the phone to defer. Like I was in some way, unconsciously earning their respect. And like, they're like, whoa. And they weren't interrupting me, but they weren't cutting me off. They were essentially playing ball with me. They were allowing me in straight line terms to control the sale, to control the encounter.
And you said it, and I've seen you speak up many times, and you said you have 4 seconds to grab that attention from the beginning.
And that's essentially what I said to them that night. I'm like, guys, when you're, whether you're in person or over the phone, you got 4 seconds to establish these 3 crucial things that, that you're perceived as being sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, and most importantly, as an expert in your field.
Right. So
it was this idea that it occurred to me that like when I was speaking to people, I had something in my voice when I was on the phone, right? Or in my body language and my voice in person, the way I carry myself, especially, let's talk on the phone because we're my phone sales here, right? But there was something that was coming through to the prospect where they're like, shit, this guy is sharp, man. This guy's an expert. And when we are in the presence of someone that we believe is an expert, what do? We defer. We let them control the encounter.
Right.
So if you really believe you're in the presence of an expert, you respect them. You don't cut them off. You don't fuck with them.
100%.
If they ask you a question, you'll answer the question honestly and forthrightly. But what happens when you're in the presence of someone you think is a novice?
Right.
You're like, don't waste my fucking time.
Right.
You'll cut them off. So I realized that there was something happening, like straight away, right, that was allowing me to take control of this conversation, and Danny as well, because he had that same ability. He was very sharp. Yeah. It came through instantly, right? And then from there, so what does that mean? Well, it means that if you're in control of something, if you're in control of an encounter, it then opens up at least the possibility to make every sale the same.
Yes.
In other words, if you're in control of a sale, you're controlling the flow, well, then you can essentially take it down the same path every time.
Every single time,
if you're in control.
Right.
So let's say there are certain key elements that must line up in the prospect's mind before they say yes. Like there are certain discrete things. Like they must think that the product is amazing. It's, you know, it's you know, they must love your product. Again, it's going to help them, benefit them, right? It's good deal and so forth, right? They have to trust you, connect with you, trust the company standing behind. There's these discrete elements,
long-term relationship,
right? Things that must line up. And if the prospect is thinking the opposite, if they think that the product is kind of shitty or maybe just not that great or it's okay, no better than the next one, or they don't trust you. So let's say imagine you present the opportunity, your product to someone, right? And to the prospect. And when you're done, the prospect is thinking, nah, it's okay, it's pretty good, or I don't know if I really trust this person. And you ask them to buy, they're not going to say, I think your product sucks, or I don't think your product's that good, or I don't trust you. What we'll say is, hey, it sounds good, let me think about it.
Right.
Let me call you back. You get hit with objections, right? So I realized, like, and I always knew that objections were kind of bullshit, but in that moment, like, oh my God, it's like, it's just I was doing naturally. So I was this natural born closer at this incredibly high level, right? I outclosed anyone I was ever, competing against, meaning in a company I work with, right? And by wide margins. And I realized that intuitively, I knew when I was selling, I was never just talking about the product. I was talking about myself, selling myself,
100%.
Selling the company that stood behind the product,
absolutely,
selling the long-term relationship.
Yes.
So these things that I was doing, I was never just saying, this is the best product. I was doing all of these things. And in fact, before I even do that, I was always asking questions first, finding out what someone's needs were, their values, their pain points. So I had to sort of wait, and I was doing it the same way every time.
Yes.
Why? Because I could. Because they were letting me control the sale. But imagine if you're perceived the wrong way. You're perceived as dull as dishwater, as a disinterested bore and a novice. They're going to try to take control.
Yes.
And when you ask a question, they won't answer. They'll cut you off. And once I hit on that, it's like all the pieces started falling into place in that night. And on that very night, I invented the straight line system. And the reason it was called the straight line was because it was based on this idea that there's this long line, the sales, the open and the close, and you're going down this line, blah, blah. And there was something about the visual of the line, and like it was real, it was monumental. It was profound, because I think many salespeople, you say, well, what's really happening when you sell? Like, oh, I don't know, I'm building rapport. Like this, it gave you an idea that, okay, this is like goal-oriented communication. Like you're here, you have a goal to end here. How are you going to get there? Well, the shortest distance is a straight line between any 2 points, right? Now, obviously, people are not robots. They're going to say things. They have objections and concerns. So you can't always stay right on the straight line, but you have these healthy boundaries like on either side of the straight line. And it was all about sort of maintaining control of the sale, building massive rapport, and at the same time directing it back in and moving yourself slowly but surely down the straight line and building massive certainty in the heart and mind of the prospect for the key elements and so forth. And once I invented that, like, these kids hadn't closed a sale with a rich person in a month. And the next morning they came back to work, and like the bell rang, and it just blew the change was instant and profound. Wow. And within a couple months, they were all millionaires, and they started calling their friends in the sale. And the system then became, every day I'd give 2 speeches a day, and they'd take out the recorders, and more things kept getting added to the system. But the bulk of it was in that one night, and then just kept getting refined over a period of a few months and became a manual, and that served as the rocket fuel that made everything else possible.
I love that. I learned this from you when I met you. You talked about power of authority. When we go to a doctor and the doctor says, put your pants down, you don't question it, right? And it right away you give them the control to tell you what to do.
I'll give you one step further. You're a little bit young for this, right? But when you get a little older, the doctor says bend over and cough. He sticks his finger up your ass, and you're like, all right, well, I guess I'll let you lube up and stick your finger up my ass because you're a doctor.
Right.
But imagine if like the interns, like the guy he's still in medical school, bend over. I'm not letting you stick your finger. You haven't earned the right to stick your finger up my ass.
The way they ask, right, is the power of tonality.
Yeah, you know, and you look at his diploma. Well, I guess he's been for 8 years at school. He's earned the right to stick his finger up my butt. You know, now if it's a female doctor, maybe I would think differently, and you could do it even if you're just a nurse. Yeah, but no. But anyway, that's just me. You know, I'm like kind of like that. But the point is that you know it's amazing that of what you will do or what you or let's say how you'll simply just fall in line when you believe the person is a figure of authority and an expert in their field.
That's right. Do you remember making your first $100 profit selling ice cream on the beach?
Yeah, it was my first day.
And you said something. You said most people are one cooler type of people.
Right.
And I couldn't agree more with you. And I think our audience would appreciate if you could discuss that a little bit further.
So, you know, the first day I went down to the beach, you know, I had this idea. I'm going to go load up a styrofoam cooler with ice cream and ices and put some dry ice and I'll sell it out. And I did that and I made a lot of money. I made 100 plus, I think $120 the first day. And it was like, I think it was like mid-June, you know, and I was sold out in like an hour.
Yeah.
So like, what do? Do you go back the next day and sell another cooler? No, I went back with 4 coolers the next day, right? And I sold out all 4 of those, made $500, right? And I was like, I always said I was a 4 cooler guy, and meaning, or it's a 4 cooler day, meaning on a hot, like if it was 90 degrees, you could sell 4 coolers. If it was 80, maybe you'd sell 3.5. It was like, if it was cloudy out, you'd sell 2. But you know, I was a 4 cooler guy, meaning I'd max it out. I'm bringing down 4 coolers to that beach. I'm going to work till my feet are bleeding, right? Now, Jones Beach is a massive beach, right? It runs, I think, probably for a few miles, like there's different fields, and it goes on. And there's millions of people on this beach, at least 1 million, right? So no one person, myself, no matter how hard I work, could possibly service the whole beach. So I went to 4 of my friends who were working for $1 an hour back then. It was like $1.13 an hour minimum wage, right? I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Come with me. And, you know, you go to field, I'm on field 4, you go to field 6, you go to 5, you go to 1, forget about it. You all make a fortune, right? And they did that. I taught them how to do it. And an interesting thing is that of the other 4, only 1 of them would ever get close to selling 4 coolers. The other 3 would sell 1 cooler and stop. Even if they could be done in an hour. So I was like, what the fuck? It didn't make sense to me like back then. I'm like, why would you sell 1 cooler and stop versus, you know, going out there and working till the sun goes down and selling 4 and making 4 times as much? And the answer is that in truth, there's really no right or wrong solution. You could be a 1 cooler guy, right? And that's great if you want to live a 1 cooler life. I mean, if money is not that important to you, if you don't strive to be the best, you could say, well, fuck, I was make $1 an hour working at a stupid job, or 100, I could make more. Why would I ever want to work more than 1 hour?
Yeah.
Like so it's a question of what your values are, what's important to you, right? To me, I was like, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to break records. I wanted to put myself through college. I wanted to be able to live a great life while I was in college. I wanted to buy a car, all these things I wanted to do. And if you have those type of goals and a vision for, you know, where you want to be in life, well, let's say your standard, what you will not settle for less than that. My standard was 4 coolers. So to me, like, I was like, what the heck? I would never sell less than 4. If I sold less than 4, it was because I couldn't sell more. Like, it wasn't warm enough, right? But I would never leave, as you could say, money on the table like that. Right. But to a person that's like, you know what? Money is not all that important. In fact, I mean, given that I never thought I'd ever make money this quickly, fuck, $100. Yeah. I'll live like a king this whole summer. I'll work an hour a day and just talk to girls.
Right.
So, like, who's right, who's wrong? There is no right or wrong answer.
Do you think you can change those people? Do you think you can make the 1 cooler type person want to be a 4 cooler type of person?
It depends. So you it's possible, but it's difficult. It depends. So there are people who are 1 cooler people, but they're just because they're asleep. They don't realize, they're in denial. And then if you can work with them long enough, so it's something that's very difficult to do in one setting.
Right.
So someone, like, give me an example. At Stratton, right? Every single day, twice a day, I would give a meeting. 30 minutes in the morning, 45 to an hour in the afternoon, right? And during those meetings, I would teach them the straight line system, but I was also working on the inner game of success, focusing on their belief systems, their values, their standards, right? Making them create a vision for the future. If they came in, many of them came in thinking it was okay to be a one cooler person.
Yeah.
But I rewrote these belief systems by showing them, and they were surrounded by success. Make them buy a nicer suit. Tell them to go buy a nicer car. Tell them the value of retiring their parents or buying their own house. And if you have enough time, a captive audience like we did there, you can change people's belief systems. You can. It's not typical. If you're very good at it, you can. But then there are some people, by the way, who just simply, they'll never be more than one cooler people. I call those people ducks, because like they're quacking around in a duck pond. They never want to go anywhere, right? So like those people are hopeless. Those people would be fired very quickly because you can see they have shit work ethic, and those, what they'll do is they'll make X and stop working. Yeah. Now, alternatively, on the other side, like I said, you can take with enough time. You can't do it in one session. So it's like, I'll be honest, like I do seminars around the world, and like, someone's not going to attend my seminar and walk in as a one cooler guy and exit as a four cooler guy or girl for that matter.
And I appreciate that honesty, because a lot of people sell you on the bullshit of you can't.
It's not true. Wow. But what can happen is you can wake something up in them, and if they're willing to commit to a program, and not just mine, anyone's program that really focuses on those type of things, you know, people can over time have their standards raised, and there's ways to do that. There's some powerful techniques using neurolinguistic programming that serve as shortcuts, but generally speaking, it's a difficult thing to do without massive intervention.
I agree. An example of you working on their inner game is your famous speech. I've been a rich man and I've been a poor one. I choose rich every fucking time. Right. If no one says these things, some people don't understand what it is to be rich, what it is to be poor. Because they go back to their environment of being poor.
And I think that there's more to that story, because like, if you just say something, I've been rich, I've been poor, I choose rich every time, never look back, right? Okay. Well, you say, well, okay, well, maybe he's a greedy motherfucker. Like, but let me give you the more expanded version of that, which is, I've been rich, right, and incredibly happy, right? Like loving life, like I am now, and I love life. Life is great, right? I've been rich and miserable. I've been rich and fucking miserable because things are going on in my life. I'm not happy. I have a lot of money, but money doesn't necessarily buy happiness. Like I've been rich and I've been miserable, right? I've been poor and fucking miserable. Like I just hate it. I can't get out of my own way. It's hard to get out of bed when it's terrible, right? But never in my entire life, not a single moment have I been poor and happy. Wow. So in other words, it's like money doesn't necessarily make you happy, but the absence of money makes it impossible to be happy. Right. And if you don't think that, then you're in fucking denial. Now, I'm not saying you need to be the richest person in the world, but there's a certain amount of money that you're going to need in your life, okay, to live a great life. Money's the most important thing in the world for a few very simple things: food, shelter, medical care. Like it's not the be all end all. Right. But in the absence of enough money, I've seen more marriages fail, sick people that can't get the proper care, all sorts of stressors and problems back, taxes, liens. I mean, God, money matters, right? Money fucking matters. So, I wouldn't just say I've been a rich man, I've been a poor man. I would explain to them much deeper than that about I'm not saying money's the be all end all, but good fucking luck trying to live a life. And if you think, by the way, and if you think, I know you thought when you walked into this office that if you just make $100,000 a year, you'll have everything you want. That's a fucking joke. Right. After you split that with the government, okay, you'll be able to enough money to fucking take your wife out for lunch. $100,000 is nothing in this world, right? I agree. If you want to really be wealthy, you're going to make $500,000, $1 million a year and then start investing that money wisely, So you have to, it's called, changing their beliefs, like, what's rich? A lot of these kids walked into my firm thinking, if I just make 10 grand a month, I'm fucking rich. I'm like, no, you're not. Yeah. How about this? Go lease a fucking Porsche. Go buy yourself a $2,000 suit. Buy a gold Rolex watch. Okay. Go move into a beautiful apartment. You rent it for $6,000 a month back then. All right. How much do you need to make that? Right. You're fucking broke at 10,000. You need to make 30,000. So and while it might not seem ethical to put someone into a position that where they can't afford that lifestyle, but I knew they could if they just woke them up, they get anyone with half a brain and Stratton, you were making $500,000 a year, you know?
I want to touch on 2 points. Okay. The first one is, I say all the time, money, you know, is not the most important thing, but everything that's important requires money, right? You want your kids to go to a better school, you need money. You want to eat healthy, you need money. So a lot of people say, well, money doesn't make you happy. Why do you always talk about money? Because it's the source that's going to help you make an impact on other people. You want to help your church, charities, you need money. You can't do it.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, that's a very, very sort of debilitating, limiting belief, is that money doesn't matter, or, you know, I could live on love alone. Great. Go to the bank at the first of the month and try to deposit love to pay the rent and see what they say, right?
Right.
You know, and also just to go out and say money isn't important to me, well, and you'll never have any.
Right.
Like, you don't have things, you don't get things, you acquire things in your life that don't matter to you. Like, I don't have a motorcycle. You know why? It doesn't matter to me. And that's nice cars. I want them. Like, you don't get what you don't, what's not important. So if you go out there putting that out into the universe, it's like, you know, it's really fucked up. It
will run away from you.
Money, bottom line, money matters. I'm not saying it's the be-all, end-all, but wow, it enriches everything else.
I agree. Second point is, in your new book, The Wolf of Investing, you know, you talk about the power of explaining why this investment works, explaining why these investments won't work. It's the same thing that you just said. You know, don't just go and tell people, you know, I've been a poor man and I've been a rich man and I choose rich every time. Explain why.
Right. So, like, yeah, this is a great. You should all buy this book.
Yes,
you really should. I mean, it's $20, whatever it costs. It's like, for investing, building a portfolio. It's fucking unreal, right? Turnkey solution. I wrote this book after, like, I watched my own brother-in-law get whipsawed, killed in the market, right? And, you know, and when I was offering him a better path, how to really build a portfolio that can get him rich, right? Because he's a successful guy, he makes a lot of money, but
$97,000 later, right?
Lost almost his entire portfolio, right? You know, they're like, all right, what should I buy? I'm like, well, it's not enough I just tell you what to buy. You need to know why you made the mistake and why it works. Because in the absence of knowing why something doesn't work or why you should do something else, people just tend not to do it. They'll fall back into the same pattern again and again. So I really think it's very important. So when I wrote this book, I sort of gave a really detailed explanation of why you have to invest a certain way in the market, why it works, why you're almost, nothing's guaranteed, but you're almost certain to make X return, a very healthy return, if you follow certain rules, and why you're pretty much certain to get destroyed if you break those rules.
I agree. You know, you mentioned that a lot of times you would do these meetings, right, for your team, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. Today I wrote to somebody, they did a 5-minute meeting for the sales team. And I said, it takes me longer to fucking cook an omelet than you did your meeting. How important it is to really have those effective sales meetings to bring the most result out of your people? So there's a couple of different, you know, components to it, right? So I think 5 minutes is very difficult. Now it's one, you know, there was a couple times, I mean, sure, you know, everything is going so well, and almost I give this sort of a very short, abbreviated, maybe a 5-minute meeting one day, because I'm like, you know what? You guys are just fucking knocking them dead. I don't need to say anything. And I just say, you're winners, you're this, and keep going. Keep the momentum going.
Keep momentum, right? But that was the exception to the rule, right? So the thing about meetings, sales meetings, right, is their effectiveness is directly related to who's giving the meeting. If you have a terrible person giving a meeting, like it makes it worse. Like so like one of the reasons I think that the Stratton meetings were so long is because I was giving them and then Danny was giving them, and we were both really, really good at giving meetings. They were funny. We were laughing their ass off, but they were also learning and being motivated. So the thing about meetings is that they need to consist of two components, right? You can't just motivate people. I don't believe in that. I don't think in fact, if you just motivate, it almost works against you over time.
I agree.
Because you can't be telling people you're great, you're capable of greatness, you can achieve anything you want, just set high goals and you strive for those goals and blah, blah. Because, like, you know what? They're like, well, no, actually, I kind of suck. Like people kind of know what they are. And if someone's struggling to close, they don't really possess the skills or they're just not that great at it. You're like, and you're saying, you're great, you're amazing, you could achieve anything. You unleash your power with inner power. You can accomplish anything. And like, well, I don't know. I've lived 24 years on this planet and I kind of suck at everything I've ever done. And I don't think I'm unlimitedly powerful, right?
I'm with you.
So the idea at Stratton was, listen, I don't care what your results have been in the past. I'm going to teach you a skill.
I love that.
A new skill set that's going to make you more effective. Like I'm going to change you as a human being. I'm going to turn you into an expert closer. I'm going to give you the actual skills, the A, B, C, step by step. And I'm going to motivate the shit out of you to make sure you're in the positive, most positive state of mind every day. Yep. So by combining motivation, which is sort of like the, the rah side, you can capable of anything, but actually giving them the real world skills that are required, what happens is their brain says, fuck, you know what? Maybe I did have terrible results in the past. Maybe I was never a winner, but now I'm different. I learned this amazing system. So my past does not have to equal my future. If you say to someone, your past doesn't equal your future, they're like, yes, it does. I suck. But if you say, well, I can change you, I can actually change your skill sets, improve your skill sets, suddenly, your past is not going to equal your future. It's like in anything, sports. You're playing tennis, right? You want to go out there and play tennis and you kind of suck, and you go out there and you play against a seasoned player and they're going to wipe the floor with you. You can play that player every day. He's going to destroy you every single. You could play the same fucking guy for 3 years straight. You'll never win a fucking set. Yeah. But what if you then start taking lessons and learn to become an expert tennis player? Right. You work on the fundamentals.
Yes.
Well, slowly you start to get more games and you start to say, wait a second, I can maybe beat this person. Right. And then you switch to a world-class pro and he makes you an expert and you destroy the other guy because you're changing your belief systems like that.
I agree. Let's just say, you went in and you grabbed a 20-year-old woman or a man and they don't know anything about sales. They're an introvert. They're scared to pick up the phone. What is the first thing you're working on with them? Is it the self-conception? Is it the confidence? Is it the tonality? Is it reading a script? What would be your first to go to?
Well, it would depend. I mean, I would basically quickly say, I would probably start by having them. I would first say, listen, I don't care where you are right now, what your beliefs are, what you think your level of talent is. It doesn't matter. I'm going to teach you a system that's going to allow you to, blow away your own expectations of what you ever thought you were capable of. So it doesn't matter where you start, but let's just start by finding out where you actually are now. I want you to read the script to me, and I'd actually give them a script and say, let's go through it. I'm going to show you how to do this. And I want to first see, assess their tonality, assess their ability to actually use a script, and go through a sales process, right? Then within literally a minute, I'm going to see what I kind of have on my hands, in terms of natural ability. Okay. Yeah. So I want to know what their natural ability is. Also, of course, I want to ask them, what have you done in the past? So you're saying it's this person that's never had success, right? So I know what I'm going to have is someone that has a lot of limiting beliefs typically, right? Yeah. They're not going to have much self-confidence. They might, I don't know about if you say you didn't mention their standards, like do they desire wealth or they don't even care about wealth, but I'm going to want to get a very quick inventory of like what they are with their belief systems and so forth. But the first step is going to be, I want to say what your ability is and say, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not saying I can take, someone with zero talent, a personality that's completely, aberrant of sales, right? And I'm not going to turn you into myself. I'd be lying to you. Okay. But what I can do with the system I'm about to teach you, I could take you and make you fucking so good that you'll be good enough to accomplish anything you want to accomplish. Right. Oh, no. So I'm not saying it's like me. I could take tennis lessons. I'm never going to be Roger Federer. But if I take enough lessons, I'm going to wipe the floor with any person that's not really, really great. Right. So it's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming the best you can be. And the straight line can take any human being and get them to a level of competency. So I say, like, for example, if you suck, very quickly, I'll make you good enough. So you can close and make a lot of money. Yeah. If you're decent, I'm going to make you awesome.
Right.
If you're already awesome, I'm going to turn you into one of the top closers in the world.
Amazing.
So it's about, next level. And then once you get to a certain level, you keep trying to get into the next level. But I'd be certainly focusing on this as I was teaching them. I'd be also breaking their limiting beliefs about themselves. I'd be raising their standards, making sure they knew how to manage their emotional state. So I'd be working on multiple things at once.
I love that. I love your transparency. I love your honesty. You're very direct and you tell people how it is, right? Without even hurting their feelings.
Right.
It's almost you deliver the message to where they can understand it without taking it personal. So
Yeah,
I love
you
that.
don't say to someone, you suck, you have no talent.
Yeah. Imagine there's a TV show, and on that TV show, it's you, Victor Antonio, and Grant Cardone, and all three of you are locked in a room. And the first person to make $1 million cold calling gets out and wins the competition. Who wins it and why?
I don't know who Victor Antonio is.
One of the sales trainers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he a good salesman? I don't even know.
Considered to be decent in the top 10 of 2023.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
I never heard of him. So I mean, I'm not that active online, right?
Yeah.
Grant, of course, I know, right? So like, here's the deal. I mean, I've never met someone who's been able to outclose me. I've never met someone. That doesn't mean that person doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay. But as a betting man, I would, never bet against myself in a million years. And I'd be very, very surprised if I didn't blow away pretty much anyone at that. But I don't know. But again, that's me. And I think that hopefully if you ask Grant the same thing or this other guy, they'd probably say the same thing. Because if you're going to be Grant, I don't know how great Grant is as a salesperson. He's one hell of a fucking marketer, though.
Right.
I mean, I have a different view on Grant. I think Grant's a marketing genius. The sales stuff I question, but whatever. Okay, I have nothing against Grant at all. He's successful, good for him, right? I don't know the other guy, but if he is considered to be even one of a elite group of people, you'd have to have the belief that you're the best if you're in that group, right?
Yes.
But I think most people, if you asked on the outside, they probably would bet on me. I think.
I love that. Your level of conviction is always at 100%. Did you train yourself to have that, or is that naturally how you always been?
Natural.
Wow.
But it can be trained into someone. That's the good news. So for me, it is natural. I can have conviction about a bowl of Campbell's soup if I really wanted to, right? And that's something that came natural to me. But then I honed it to perfection by years and years. Not of just selling, but I think when you train others to sell, it makes you a better salesperson.
Yes.
Especially with the straight line, because it's like very formulaic, and it's sort of, it's kind of shows you really what needs to happen to close. So you become so clear on what the important aspects of a sale are when you break them into their parts, right? So I think training people, I always felt like, I remember in my the meat business I was in even before the straight line, and I was just like blowing away. The average person was selling 40 or 50 boxes a week, and I was selling 250 boxes a week, and I had no sales training, right? This is when I was 21 years old, blowing away everyone, right? And I remember saying, I'm so good at this. I mean, I'm thinking I'm such a great salesperson. I realized that, right? And then I started training other meat salespeople. I'm like, wow, this is making me even better.
Wow.
Because it made me get to clarify, realize what I was doing. So what happens when someone's naturally great at something, it's called being unconsciously competent.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to even think about it. It's automatic, right? But when you have to train someone, if you're unconsciously competent, it doesn't help someone else. Like if you say, well, what are you doing? I'm just a fucking killer. I'm a great closer, right? Yeah. So I think, even when I first started training salespeople, and especially when I invented the straight line, which really was about taking my own strategy and having to break it down into its pieces and teach the people piece by piece so they can then essentially connect the pieces, right? Yeah. It made me a better salesperson, for sure, a better closer.
Thank you for sharing that. You said your toughest moments were when you were in jail, and those moments at night by yourself, battling those negative thoughts.
Right.
But there's something that was carrying you over, and was your faces of your children.
Right.
Can you talk about, the purpose, the why, and exactly, how can one find that within themselves through the hard times?
Sure. So I think that, for me, certainly in jail, that was like, my reason, my why was, I wanted to show my children that Dad was a good guy and that he could come back strong and do things right. So I had all these sort of, things that were really powerful. And I think that, your why is not a constant. Your why will change over time as your own life changes and you are in your own journey. It's gonna definitely change with your journey, right? But I think the fundamental thing that you need to focus on here is that your why is not going to be about you. It's not like I want to succeed because I want to live a better life. I want more money. I want a bigger house. I want to have a prettier wife or a more attractive husband or what I want the house on the hill. I want to join a club. It's not going to be about that. There's power. There's no doubt that there's power in those things, like knowing I want this and being clear on your vision statement, your vision board, whatever you use to visualize what the things are that you want to achieve and why it's important to succeed monetarily and so forth, right? But I think far greater power is when your why is about someone or some people that you love unconditionally more than yourself, like your children.
Yep.
Think about it. If you let's say you're in a house and it's on fire and you have to run through a wall of fire and it's just you, you're like, you run to the fire like, fuck, that's hot. Like, should I do it? Maybe I can run. But what if your children were on the other side of the fire and you had to get them out? You would run through and burn. You wouldn't even think twice for a second. In fact, you run back and shield your children and burn your own skin to make sure your children walked out without a scratch.
Absolutely.
In a second. Like it wouldn't even be an automatic. So like there's power in people that you love more than yourself, or a cause you believe in. I can take this to a dark place for a second where people strap bombs to themselves, suicide bombers, and they'll blow themselves up and other people in the name of a religion that they believe in. Okay, and then it's not just any one religion, any religion. If someone's believe they're doing in the name of God, okay, then they'll believe in it more than themselves, and that's just this cause. They'll blow themselves up. They'll fly a plane into a building. They'll put a bomb into Oklahoma, whatever it might be. Like this crazy motivation and power in those things as well, both on the light side and the dark. So I think that really, when you can lock into a why that taps into the people you love unconditionally or the causes that you believe in, your community, I think that's even far more powerful.
I couldn't agree more. I have been at the bottom, and because of my children, because of my wife, because I needed to be the man and be the protector, provider for them, I got out of the bottom because they gave me that motivation.
Sure.
A lot of sales companies, they look at, Jordan Belfort, they look at, everything that you have done in the sales industry, the teams that you have built, the energy that you provided. And a lot of times when people go out there and market themselves, oh, you're just trying to be like the Wolf of Wall Street, right? And including our company, a lot of people compare our company to Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
However, our company has, different mindset nowadays because of our core values. We have character, we have competitive greatness, all that stuff. Some people believe that you can't. They have this negative, affirmation in their mind that you can't build a thriving culture in sales without drugs, without alcohol, without hookers. What do you think about that?
That's fucking nonsense. I mean, listen, at the heart of everything, right, when it comes to selling, ethical persuasion, right, is like, what are you selling? Are you delivering value to people? Right? And should they be buying what you're selling? Like, if you have the purpose of selling, and whether it's, aggressive selling with more force, right, versus a softer version, doesn't really matter. But if what you're trying to get someone to buy is going to improve their life and the value proposition, like, for every dollar they invest into it, they're going to get 10 times dollar in value out of it. And however that's represented, better life, less pain, less hassles, whatever it might be, right? Then that's the beginning of a culture that can thrive and be, on the light side of the force, right? If your culture, you could say all the things about character and this, and so we're so great. We want you not to use drugs. And what you're selling is actually not helping people. It's actually kind of like, or just simply you're selling something at $10, it's really worth $5, right? Then I don't care all the games of verbal volleyball or mental mind tricks, gymnastics, you can play with yourself. Like, I'm a good person, I'm doing the right thing. You're just not. So the idea that aggressive selling techniques, and by the way, you should be even selling aggressively. Like, the straight line is not necessarily an aggressive selling technique. It's what it is. It's an effective selling technique.
100%.
Right? In fact, if you're doing it aggressively, you're doing it wrong. Now, it's true in some industries more than others. If you don't close the person on that first call, you're just never going to speak to them again. That's just the reality of the industry, right? And you just can't get them back on the phone. You have a one-shot deal. So you have to be more aggressive in the sense of taking it a little bit further to try to overcome objections on that call. You can't just let them off the phone. They want to think about, great, have a nice day, because you know you'll never speak to them again.
Yeah.
So so imagine if you know that what you have is awesome and you know that it's great value, you know it's going to help them live a better life, you're morally obligated to go a bit further than just to say, have a nice day. Because what happens is many people have, sort of barriers and obstacles that stop them from taking actions they should be taking. They're just blocked for whatever reason. They have their own limiting beliefs. They've had bad experience before. So it's the role, the job, I think the responsibility of a great salesperson to help those people overcome those unconscious barriers and obstacles to taking action. That's when ethical persuasion is being used at the highest level. So the product is great. It's helping people, and you're helping people overcome their barriers and obstacles. So this idea that in any way, like an effective selling force is doing something wrong is fucking ludicrous.
I agree. You have children, I have children. When my children are sick and they don't want to take a medicine, I'm convinced that medicine is going to lower their fever, it's going to make them better. Even though they're crying, they don't know better.
Right.
You have to be able to be so convicted by the fact that this medicine helps them. You open their mouth, you put the medicine.
It's a great analogy, by the way. And I think that's exactly in line with what I was saying. And I think that, given what you guys do, listen, you're obviously, representing one of the premier companies out there, Verizon, right? Which is a great company with an awesome service, right? So, I mean, listen, if you're calling people up, you're giving them, and by the way, the whole thing is set up to give them value because they're long-term contracts and very cheap to get in. It's like, because Verizon is a cash-rich company and they get it. They know that if they fuck people over, they're not going to be in business very they have a brand to protect.
That's right.
Right? Which is great. So it makes it easier for you to sell because the certainty about the company is very high. So the fact is, but in that vein, there's no way you could be selling unethically and still be with Verizon. They cut you off in 2 seconds.
I agree 100%. From a yin and yang perspective, okay, I work with a lot of leaders that build teams and their teams die, and because they do something unethical, they leave their team because they lied to their salespeople. When you look at your company that you built that has been at the highest peak possible, what was that one component that got you to be so successful? And on the opposite side, what was that one component that made you, fail or fall so hard?
What made us so successful was that we gave people, we taught them a skill set that was life-changing, and that worked.
I love
So
that.
it was real. There was no smoke and mirrors behind it. We taught them something. We said, listen, I'm going to teach you a skill. It's going to change your fucking life.
And they carried that forever with them.
And exactly. And it did. It worked. Like they became amazing sellers, communicators, closers, whatever it might be, right? That was one part of it, right? The other part of it was like this intensive daily motivation. So they kept teaching them to, really reinforcing about operating at the highest level, being the best you can be. So those two things combined were just incredibly effective. And we would never take a salesman for another company. We wanted to train our own. We didn't steal other brokerage firms, salespeople. It was an ethos that we had, and sort of like, it just sort of set everyone up that you're all coming in. It's like, the boardroom was the great equalizer, as was the straight line. Didn't matter where you came from in the world, what family. You could have gone to Harvard, Hell's Kitchen. We didn't give a shit. Didn't matter. You walk into that boardroom, your past is past. As long as you're willing to work hard and do what we teach you, you can be whatever you want to be. That was the great side. The negative side, the big mistake was not giving value. In other words, we were selling stocks, not all of them, because the movies were wildly exaggerated like that. But like what happened was my ability. So it's like any business, right? You have a sales force and they're selling a product, right? Well, what happens in Wall Street, in this type of stocks I was selling, was that, you have to be able to create good companies, find good companies to take public, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe if I took one company public a year, they could have found all Steve Madden shoes. But I grew the firm so fast, you had to feed the hungry mouths. Like they needed more shares, more companies. So like my ability to to take companies public outstripped my ability to find good companies to take public. So I was forced to sacrifice on quality and so forth. And then, of course, there was the simple greed that we would, manipulating stocks, by the way. But I was not the only one doing that. Everyone was doing that from Goldman Sachs on down. So I'm not trying to minimize what I did wrong, but it wasn't like I invented stock manipulation. It was done everywhere. Okay. I just did it so brazen. It was so big. And my ability to create companies was so far outstripped by the amount of stock I could sell. There was an imbalance. Imagine if when Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and the first year they had the ability to make 1 million iPhones, right, of the highest quality. Yeah. But if they made 5 million, the next 4 million would probably kind of suck and break down and have shoddy parts and work, right? Right. Like that. Do you see the movie about BlackBerry?
No, not yet.
Well, it's exactly what happened with BlackBerry. They tried to when they were rushing to compete, they tried to put 3 million phones on the market that sucked. Yeah. And guess what happened? Out of business. Yeah. Right. So that was a huge error. We didn't have the ability to deliver high quality product at the level our salesman could sell it. That was a huge error.
I want to talk about your book because I believe your book is something that every young man and woman need, because there's a lot of fluke out there. There's a lot of fake gurus that lead people in the wrong way, steal their money, right? Take advantage of them. In your book, you express a desire to empower individual investors against big banks, right? So you wrote this book. Is that the inspiration, the reason why you wrote this book? Why did you decide to write this book in the first place?
Well, so I've been thinking about writing a book on investing for a while, right? Like, 'cause it's such a critical part of living a financially empowered life. Why? Well, there's two sides to it. One is you got to earn money. You got to make money. So you have to figure out some way to make a decent amount of money, right? But whatever amount that is, whether you own your own business or you're a salesperson or just to work for someone else, right? Hopefully, if you are at least being somewhat financially responsible, if you make $1,000 a week, or 10,000 or $1 million a week, you'll end up with, $200, some amount that you have left over that's in savings. You don't spend it all, hopefully, right? Right. So that's one side of it, is like you want to make money as much as possible, hopefully, right? And have money left over to save, right? The next side of being financially empowered is, well, what do you do with the money that you have saved? Like, what do you do with it? Do you just invest it and have it fucking stolen from you because you're an idiot? Like, you buy stupid things and make bad investments and get whipsawed in crypto, or buying from this, selling that. Okay. And I can't tell you the amount of people that actually fall into that trap. So they have money, they invest their hard-earned money, and they lose it, or most of it. They don't get the return. Meanwhile, and this is like the worst or best kept secret, depending on which way you want to look at it. But like, there's actually a surefire way to build massive wealth in the stock market. Yes. And that's the system that I teach in this book. It's the Wolf of Investing, is that system. And I didn't even invent it. I didn't invent this system. It's well known, but no one talks about it. Like, Wall Street doesn't want you to know it. They'll spend billions a year in advertising that convince you otherwise. Right. That, and Wall Street wants you to think that you should, watch CNBC and short-term trade, buy this, sell that, try to time the market, invest, in this stock or that. And it's the opposite of what you should do. And how do I know that? Well, it's been proven for 100 years by every study that's backtraced investors and analyst recommendations and the performance of mutual funds and hedge funds. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The simplest investments are the ones you could do yourself by buying certain types of index funds, meaning they track the entire market. Right. So in the book, I lay out this proven formula for building massive wealth in the stock market. And it's so freaking easy. You don't need a stockbroker, a financial analyst, or whatever, anyone. You don't need anybody to guide you, because all of it is done for you. It's out there. It's well known. It's proven. And you could do it all yourself by opening an account at Vanguard or Charles Schwab or any one of the other large platforms out there. And you don't take the advice of a broker or a financial planner, except for some tax advice. Maybe that's different. But when it comes to buying stocks, right? Okay, you don't need anyone. I explain in the book how to do it. And I think it's the most important book that you get as a young person, especially. You're going to make a lot of money in your life, some more than others, but you need to learn how to put that money to work. And if you follow the advice in this book, you could take a very small amount of money. Like, you could start with $10,000, $20,000 and just put $100 a month in, hopefully a little more, and end up with millions and millions of dollars in your retirement account without doing anything. With very little risk.
I believe that you writing this book is a way of giving back. There's so many people, like you said, don't talk about this information, but yet you took it upon yourself to write it so that way people take it, educate themselves, and not depend on the large banks to control them, to be able to trap them into it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like writing. I hate writing, and I write. I don't have a ghostwriter, so yeah. I mean, when I wrote it, I got my big advance from Simon and Schuster. Thank you very much, Simon and Schuster. Right? I could have written a shit book, but I said if I really want people to embrace this information, I have to make it interesting and funny. So I wrote the book in a way I think it was really funny and makes people turn the pages. Yeah. So yeah, to me it's a gift that every person should give themselves. By the way, because like without this knowledge, I promise every person that's watching, without the knowledge of this thing, you're going to get taken advantage of in the financial markets. You are, because the way the financial markets work is very counterintuitive. And I'll give you an example here, like about experts, right? Mm-hmm. If you burst a pipe in your house and your house is spewing water all over the place, I would strongly advise you to go hire a professional plumber, right, to come in and fix your pipes rather than trying to fix them yourself. You'll probably get a much better outcome. You will with the professional plumber. Same thing goes with electric short. If your electricity is not working, I strongly advise you to go find an electrician licensed to go fix your electricity versus putting on a pair of rubber gloves and hoping you don't kill yourself. Right? You're gonna get a much better outcome. If you're sick, and let's say you need surgery, let's say you have a tumor in your stomach or something, right? I'd highly advise you to go get the best surgeon out there, an expert at surgery. Take out your tumor. Don't cut it out yourself or ask your friend. Don't ask anyone to cut it out. Hire an expert. So that's like the way of things in life. We hire experts to get the best results possible. It's a great way to go through life. Mm-hmm. The one exception is fucking investing.
Wow.
There's no value add. All these so-called experts that are going to help you manage your money to get a higher return, they actually extract more value than bring value. It's a negative return.
Wow.
You don't need them. If you hire an expert, you'll end up far worse than if you do it yourself. If you follow the strategy is so fucking simple. A child could do it. Literally, okay? A child could do it, and you'll get a far better return. This has been proven by every academic, every economics professor, time and time. People won Nobel Prizes proving this, that it's true. But Wall Street spends billions a year advertising. You know why? Because they want to keep you in the corrupt casino playing the sucker's game.
Yes.
So this book is a ticket out of that and shows you how to build real wealth in the stock market.
I couldn't agree more. Love the book. Jordan, we had an amazing podcast. Everybody needs to get this book because it's going to help them get away from this average mentality and giving away their money that when they're being advantage of. Jordan, last question. What do you want to be remembered for as Jordan Belfort?
I think probably the ultimate redemption, the comeback. I think that's the best part of my life, I think. And, I do a lot of things I think that help people. But I think just generally speaking, I think there's so many people out there in various parts of the world, whatever, you've either made mistakes or you've been dealt a bad hand and, you've had a rough time of it. And, sometimes I think many people think that it's just that, the story of my life has been written. I can't come back from this, or there's just too many things working against me. Well, I think my life serves as a very, very bold testament of what can be accomplished, what you can do, no matter how big a mistake you make, no matter how much your reputation has been shattered, through a combination of hard work, some ingenuity, learning new skills. Like I had to learn new skills like writing. You can come back from anything as long as you want to do the hard work and learn the new skills you need to learn and take massive action.
Jordan Belfort, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Great talking to you.